Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Welcome to this episode of Am I the Asshole? Our first one is from Initial Combination 12. Am I the asshole because I got my daughter an $80 dress? My family just got back from a week-long cruise, and there's still some tension about this. My wife and I took our 20-year-old son, 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, and 7-year-old son. Our oldest spent most of his time on vacation doing his own thing, having breakfast and dinner with the family, but being seldom seen otherwise. My wife and I enjoyed spending time with our kids, but we also did some couples activities. There are clubs on the boat for kids, and our 13-year-old really enjoyed them. But our 7-year-old didn't and kept wanting to spend the day with his sister, who'd we given carte blanche to do her own thing as long as she ate with us and answered when we messaged her. She was a good sport and took her little brother on most of her adventures, swimming with him, taking him to trivia, and doing the animation classes with him. I felt like this was very sweet of her and showed a great deal of maturity. The second to the last day of the cruise, I took her to the gift shop and told her to pick out whatever she wanted as a thanks for looking after her brother. She was very excited and ended up picking out a dress. The dress was $80. She wore it to dinner that night, and when she told her mom I bought it for her, my wife gave me a weird look. After dinner, she asked me why the hell I did that. I explained that it was a reward for looking after her brother. She said we can't buy an $80 dress for our daughter and nothing for our sons. I said we didn't get them nothing. We took them on a cruise. My wife said I'm an idiot. I don't think so. We got some trinkets for the younger boys, about $20 worth of stuff. My wife thinks I fucked up and I should apologize to the boys. I refuse. We took our adult son on vacation that cost thousands of dollars. He has no reason to resent his sister being rewarded for being thoughtful. If we got our 7-year-old and 13-year-old a really expensive souvenir, it would probably be lost or broken. She still thinks I was an asshole though. Clarification: a lot of commenters seem to think we asked our daughter to babysit her brother. That's not really the case. What happened was that she would tell us her plans for the day, and 7-year-old would say he'd rather do that than go to the kids club, and she would agree to let him come with her. So it was more her just being a nice sister than actual babysitting. She always had the ability to drop him off at the club. That's why I wanted to reward her, because I thought it was so sweet of her not to do that, and to make her brother feel good about his cool older sister wanting to hang out with him. Honestly, if I was in the same situation, I would probably go the same path, just because your daughter stepped up and yeah, she wasn't asked to babysit, but she spent the time with her brother and they had that special bonding time, and she made him enjoy the cruise as well. All without having to be asked. You're definitely not the asshole. This next one is by Spirited Block 6783. Am I the asshole for saying my wife will have to quit her job if we get booted from another daycare? My wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter, Alexis. Both of us work, and Alexis has attended daycare since she was 1. In the 2 years since, we've been asked to leave 2 programs because my wife is a micromanager. I admit both of us went into the first program not really understanding daycare. I quickly learned that they can't provide personalized care, and after learning from her teachers, I reset my expectations. My wife, however, has a lot of anxiety and worries about our daughter. She hates when she gets even a little upset. She's in therapy and is working on it. First program, my wife would constantly watch the live feed and call the daycare multiple times a day. We had several talks about it, and the school talked to us twice. My wife ended up screaming at one of the teachers and then the director. We were terminated immediately. Second daycare was a little bit better because my wife began therapy, but my wife was still so nervous and had a complaint every single day. These were not important things. Small things like she saw another child took a toy from Alexis and she would cry. The teacher would then give the toy back to Alexis, but my wife didn't understand why the other child wasn't punished for it. This daycare didn't kick us out, but did eventually suggest that this may not be the best program for us. My wife and I decided to pull Alexis out. My wife, because of her anxiety, myself, because I knew my wife had burned bridges and was becoming one of those moms. We chose a smaller home daycare this time as we couldn't afford another center. The woman who owns it is very nice, but also firm. She stands by her boundaries and won't let my wife break any rules, whereas the centers were definitely more accommodating. My wife would take any inch she got. This time, she doesn't get that opportunity. I thought all was well as the owner only speaks to my wife for the most part. Then, I get put into a group text saying my wife has been bombarding the owner with texts every day, despite the owner saying that she will text her at lunch when things are settled. She said at this point she will only be responding at specific times of the day and not looking the rest. The owner then sent several pages of the contract with passages highlighted, reminding us of certain policies my wife had violated. I was pissed. When Alexis went to bed that night, my wife and I talked. I said this was our last option for daycare. The other centers are too expensive, and this is the only home daycare in the area that we like. A nanny is not in our budget. My wife made a million excuses, including that it's not her fault. She's anxious. I said if we are asked to leave this program too, my wife will be the one quitting her job to watch Alexis, not me. This upset my wife. I pointed out I've spoken to her kindly about this plenty of times. I encouraged her to keep up her therapy, but she can't keep getting us kicked out of programs. My wife is now not speaking to me. Am I the asshole? Edit. I can't be the primary contact for daycare due to not being able to have my phone on me at work. I mean, if your wife is the one that's causing all of the issues with the daycares, then yeah, I don't think you're the asshole for basically telling her the reality of the situations, because if you can't keep going program to program to program, number one, that's not good for you or your finances, and number two, that's not good for the child. I really hope your wife keeps up with that therapy and works through her issues. And our final one is from Dragonfly South 4310. Am I the asshole for ordering a giant steak against my mother-in-law's will, actually eating it, and refusing to cover the entire bill? This is ridiculous, and I can't believe I have to ask if I'm an asshole, but here we go. I, female 27, have been living together with my husband, Nate, for over 10 years, and married for 4. I don't have the best relationship with my mother-in-law as she always seems to police what I eat. Everyone in my family has a fast metabolism. I'm also working with horses, so due to this, burn a lot of calories, talking about 2,500 to 3,000 a day, and usually have rather large meals to get the energy back, and I still remain skinny. Now the event. My in-laws invited me and Nate to dinner last Friday. I was very busy back then and hadn't eaten since about 6 to 7 a.m. and also didn't have a chance to have a snack before heading to the restaurant, so I was starving. I usually have something to eat before seeing my mother-in-law to avoid her comments. Due to this, I've ordered a large steak at the restaurant, which was meant for 2 people. It also came with prawns, bacon, and 2 sides. Please note that this was not the most expensive item on the menu, as some of my in-laws had significantly pricier dishes, and we were all splitting the bill anyway. My mother-in-law started making comments about how I shouldn't be ordering what I can't eat, since even her husband wouldn't be able to finish the dish, let alone someone my size. I smiled and said, I haven't eaten since early morning and am starving. If I don't finish the steak, I'll take the leftovers home. I have easily finished the steak and was waiting for my dessert when my mother-in-law flipped. She said I'm attention-seeking and was putting on a show. She also said I made my father-in-law and brother-in-law feel uneasy and that a woman shouldn't eat that much. It is unhealthy and something is wrong with me. She has then demanded that me and Nate cover the entire bill as she wasn't planning on such a big expenditure. I said we are absolutely not covering the entire bill since it was meant to be split equally, and reminded her of the dishes she ordered that were significantly more expensive compared to my steak, including her starter. As a result, I was called an asshole who has ruined a family dinner. Nate is on my side, but most of my in-laws are making very passive-aggressive posts on social media about it, and keep sending me different articles of what might cause excessive eating. The only asshole, or rather assholes in this story is the mother-in-law and the family members, especially the family members that want to go around and post fucking posts on social media acting like they're making some significant fucking change to the world when in reality, they're just hoping that somebody will actually give a fucking shit and side with them. You're definitely not the asshole. I'm sorry you have to deal with such a shitty-ass in-law family, but I'm glad you don't hold it against your husband. Alright, that's enough stories for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Am I the Asshole? If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.